start with Mr. Putin because there's growing chatter that his isolation over the past 2 years may have affected his decision-making. And I certainly note that in meetings, not only with foreign leaders, here with Emmanuel Macron, but also with his own intimates, his own senior advisors, he sits at a great distance from any and everybody. What does that say to you about his state of mind or his state? There he's talking to his own generals, and he's 30 feet away. What does that tell you about his state of mind? What's he afraid of?
Look, Mr. Putin is described as increasingly strident. When I was in the meetings with him back in the past, he had this sardonic, sarcastic sense of humor. But now you can see he was intimidating his own senior officials, like the head of foreign intelligence, General Narishkin. He looks like a man in a hurry. He is puffy. His face is puffy. People speculated. I'm not a medical doctor, but I have some medical background, and I read a lot of speculation about his state of health. And he looks like somebody who's taking steroids, maybe. We do not know if he has a terminal illness or not, but he certainly looks like a man in a hurry and a man who keeps his associates in a great state of fear. Beyond that, I think the push into Ukraine under the slimmest of pretext about Ukraine being ruled by Nazis or Ukraine planning to have nuclear weapons or NATO deployments, this is fantasy. It's a cover-up for an invasion in which civilians are killed again and again, including children. So there may be investigations of war crimes that will implicate senior Russian officials, just as the Malaysian MH17 flight in which close to 300 people got killed in 2015. This too may be a reason to investigate war crimes. The doctrine talks about escalate to de-escalate. If things in Ukraine go wrong, if we see increasing meat grinder in which we already see young Russian recruits, 19 and 20-year-olds, without preparation being thrown against highly motivated Ukrainian forces, I do not exclude that Russia, just to intimidate the West and to break the spirit of the Ukrainians, will use weapons of mass destruction. Either it's going to be a nuke, a tactical nuke, or an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, whether they're going into outer space to take out our GPS satellites, or a massive cyber attack on the United States. At this point, with that leadership, I do not exclude, unfortunately. And let me just
go there, because you took us there. If any of those things happen, an attack on cyberspace, on our assets in space, the use of a tactical nuclear weapon, could NATO still stay on the sidelines? Wouldn't those be acts of war, as would be potentially a collision between Turkey and Russian warships in the Bosporus, which Turkey has closed to warships? Those would bring NATO in.
Again, we see unprecedented things in a very negative dynamic. The dynamic that is dire, that in certain respects is worse than the Cuban Missile Crisis. Look, I picked up a lot of chatter in Moscow when I traveled there before COVID about a big war that they were planning against Ukraine, about a Cuban Missile Crisis style moment that they need to get on the same level of with the United States to be taken seriously, whatever that means. To have a new Yalta, a new deal about global spheres of influence like Stalin, Roosevelt, and Churchill did in Yalta in 1945. But what you mentioned, the massive cyber space attack maybe an act of war, less so a tactical nuke in Ukraine because it's not the territory of NATO. And our European allies are not prepared and have no appetite to fight Russia. I'm actually very surprised how much unity NATO demonstrated so far with the sanctions. And keep in mind another very important thing that a lot of people cannot sort of walk and chew gum in terms of foreign policy. We need to keep our eye on the Taiwan Straits and on China while this thing hits the fan in Europe. We do not want to fight China and Russia at the same time. It would be unprecedented and extremely challenging economically and militarily for the U.S. and our allies.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to get more content like this.